If you just happen to have a whole bunch of this stuff lying around your house, well, I've got an idea for you. Look. All right, welcome back to the ranch. Today, we're going to do some updates to a couple walls in the house with some reclaimed wood builds. Now, even if you don't happen to have any wood just lying around the house, it's okay. Of course, most people don't have that. But it's really easy to find. You can go to the landfill. They have great piles of wood at the landfill for free. You just go in there and pick through it and find everything you need. You know, if somebody's taking down an old fence, just go and ask them if you can take away the scrap material, and you've got all this great free wood for building. And it's usually really amazing looking weathered wood. There's all kinds of really great projects out there that can be found for free. So, of the two walls I'm doing today, both have existing features that are going to have to be removed before we start, and that means demo. I'm really excited to get started, so let's go. All right, so this 100-pound gold mirror is what we were starting with. It was time for an update here, so getting that off the wall was job one. Then you're left with these black tar adhesive patches behind it. So it was just a matter of getting those scraped off the wall. And I found some outlets underneath. When I took the mirror off, I realized there were holes already in the wall. So I decided I'd take that opportunity to install a couple outlets. Of course, you need to get a extender. There you see that silver extender, and that just allows you to have the outlet stick out, because of course once you put the wood on the wall, your wall is going to stick out a little bit more than it did before. And you can see I was just testing there. Then I just snapped some grid lines where the studs were. And now it's just a process of laying the wood out. I like to lay it out ahead of time and see what I have to work with color-wise, kind of get an idea for how you want the wall to look before you start cutting wood. Everything will change, but it gives a good idea to start with. From the setup, I found it to be a big help just getting all the gear in place ahead of time. And one of the things I found early on was it was a lot easier to build the wall by each row by putting the ends of each row on and then filling in the middle piece last. That was the easiest to measure, and I think that was ended up becoming a good idea that really worked well. I also painted behind any holes. So here you see a hole in the red wood there. I just put some black paint behind it, so it kind of disappears. Having bare wall behind it I just didn't think it looked really great. There you see me trying to measure a piece and get it into that corner. It just doesn't work well when you're trying to do the end piece last. So you can see it's much easier to have them line up. And even right there, they had to go into the wall, so it just made it a lot easier to measure the middle piece last. A little bit of time here cutting around the outlets, but all in all, really a great project. I had to do that linear cut with a jigsaw on these last pieces because they weren't a normal thickness, so it's a lot of back and forth. But it really came out well. I think we were really happy with that wall. The yellow walls needed a paint, so we started doing that and got all that white stuff done, and we're left with this. So a really great project. We were so happy with the way it came out. This is one of the outlet covers I got. I just stained it with some vinegar and a steel wool pad stain, but a really great room. So next we moved on to this 1980s build out. It's just basically the three pieces of drywall with a frame of metal sheeting frame around it. So there I'm pulling off all that metal frame, and I was trying to pry the entire thing off in one big piece, and I didn't really realize how heavy it was, but here I'm about to find out because the entire thing falls on me. Luckily, the time-lapse caught just a little bit of it, but it hurt more than it looked like. But once you get everything off, then, of course, it's just a matter of picking the wood out and getting it set up. Here, you notice the wall on the left right there is a weird angle. So that angle, I keep going up and down because I'm trying to figure out the bevel cut on this piece right here. That wall is at a weird angle. I think it was something like 49 degrees. So that took a little bit to get that set. And then once I finished that, it was kind of done, just off to the races. This was a pretty easy wall. Again, just each one of those end pieces on the left got that bevel cut, but overall just a fun process. And it really looks great in this room above this pellet stove. There you see me putting more paint behind some of the boards. Any areas where you see that gap. Here I decided to put the bottom row on because it was level, and then I did my little linear cuts on the last finishing row of wood in that second to last row instead. It was the easiest way to do it. Finally getting done. Here we get a little kiss from the wife. And a great project. A really, really good looking wall in the end. Super happy with it. So there you go. Not a bad job, right? The only thing I found that was difficult was the fact that it was time consuming. A couple of the things that I found that may help you in your project was, one, move your equipment as close to the work site as possible. It saves a lot of time if you're having to run outside all the time and make the cuts and then come back in and measure to see how it fits and go back out and make small adjustments and come back in again. That can really help speed up the process if you can get that equipment as close to wherever you're working as possible. Number two, I had all this wood, it came off of work sites, and you want to clean it, you want to brush it and get all the outside debris off. But don't clean it until after you've made the cuts. You're going to end up cleaning half the wood that you're not going to use in the end. So make your cuts, get all of that measured and done, and just have a brush like I did at the saw. And just brush off the wood once you get the final piece cut before you go inside, because it'll have little burrs and pieces that you'll want to clean anyway. The other thing that I found, and this will be different depending on the kind of wood that you have, but the thickness of the wood, when you have a board that's really thick compared to some of the thinner boards, those thick ones, really be careful about using warped pieces. They're going to be really hard to get to lie flush and get nailed into the wall properly. Now, if you're building a wall like mine that have a lot of texture and you don't mind that, that's fine. Overall, a really fun project, and I think it came out great. It was a lot of fun transforming this to this. Thank you so much for subscribing. If you haven't done so, please click that button. Give us a thumbs up. Let us know how we're doing. Now, coming up in part 2, I'm going to tackle this beast in the garage. So check back for updates on that. And until next time, so long from the ranch.